Hi, this is Pastor Rick, and I want to welcome you to the Sunday Forum on this Sunday, July the 24th. And our theme for this Sunday on the Sunday Forum is what's happening at Emmanuel, especially in regards to two very important activities. We're going to talk about the call committee. As you know, Pastor Steve will be retiring next year in May. We're putting together a call committee, so we want to hear from Tom Jackson, president of our church council, to what's going on with the call committee. And secondly, we're going to talk with Pastor Steve and Teresa about our campaign. So a lot's happening behind the scenes, but we want to keep you informed. And so let's start then with our call committee and go and join Tom Jackson in his living room as he brings us up to speed on what is happening. Tom? I'm here with Tom Jackson in his living room. Thanks for welcoming here, Tom. And we're here to talk about a very important project at the church, as you know, the call committee. Pastor Steve will be retiring next May, and it's up to the council, right, to put together a call committee. And, well, I think everyone would find it interesting to find out what's happening behind the scenes in putting together that call committee. So what can you tell us?
Well, first of all, I can tell you that the council is extremely excited about what we have in front of us. In fact, the whole church is excited with the fact that we've got great leadership, and we have now an opportunity to not only take that leadership, but to move it on for bigger and better things. And this call committee is like absolutely one of the most important things that we will do as a council. And, you know, I've made a few notes here because there's a lot of detail in this whole process. And I just don't want to forget anything to tell you. But the key is that, think about it. We've got to ID or identify the shepherd that's going to lead this God-given community of worship. That's a big deal.
It's a big deal, and it's exciting.
It is exciting. It is exciting. I mean, we're delighted with what the wonderful leadership that we've experienced with Pastor Steve, and we're delighted for him that he's going to start a new chapter in his life. And that's great.
So what are the steps, Tom? How does the council put together a process to pull together a call committee?
Well, the things that are involved with that is we have to have a good representation of our communities. Mm-hmm. We have to have people that are absolutely focused on our mission, vision, you know, our priorities, where we're going, the things that are important to us. I mean, it's not just like putting a group of 6 people together, and we sure aren't putting it out. Who wants to volunteer for the call committee? No, that we have to discern this process. We have to prayerfully consider the right people to invite to this committee. And I can tell you that the executive committee of the council spent a pretty healthy session figuring out who should we put on the list to invite. And we did that.
Now, when will we know as a congregation who's on this committee?
You're going to know in probably the latter part of August, because we'll have our council meeting in August. And one of the agenda items of that meeting will be for the council to approve who we have selected, carefully selected, I might add, to be the 6 people on the call committee. Then we can tell everybody who's on the call committee. There's no problem with that.
Now, Tom, I'm not on the call committee, am I?
No, that's important to understand. I, as president of the council, I cannot be on the call committee. I'm limited to one person from the council to be on the call committee. And we know who that person is. But that one person, okay, we can't have any staff. We can't have any relatives of any staff. So let me tell you, the Synod has really put together a plan for us to follow. They're not trying to tell us what to do, but they sure are giving us a lot of tools and a lot of things that we can use so that we're an effective call committee, so that we're doing the right things at the right time, the right way. And the key is this is so important. Think about the exciting congregation and the exciting program that Emmanuel Lutheran Church has. One church, several communities, but we have really come a long way in some of these things. 37 people that are already being trained to be pastors in our academies.
And it'll be over 40 this September.
So. It will be. Yes, it will be. And to think of what we're doing with 40 acres out in northern Collier County, where they got this huge development out there of new housing coming. We are an exciting group. And we as a council need to really be serious about being engaged, but being very, very careful in this selection process, because we want this call committee to really represent all of our communities and all of our, we're a very diverse congregation. We have a lot of different folks from all over the world really worshiping with us. We want all of those people to feel like they've been a part of this and that we have not left them out.
So, Tom, it sounds like you're going through a very careful process to get the right people on the call committee, and that we're all going to hear about that probably by the end of the summer, by the end of August. If our members who are watching this video have any suggestions or ideas or questions, who do they contact?
Me. They can contact me. Because it's really an important responsibility for me to make sure that I'm effectively leading the council to do the right thing, okay, and to do the best thing. So I'm open for any suggestions, and I really mean that.
Again, want to thank you for your leadership, Tom, of the council. We want to thank all the council members. And for those who will be leading us on that call committee, we want to obviously lift them up in prayer. Tom, it was great to join you here in your living room.
I'm happy you're here, and I'm really happy to share with the congregation the process, this important process, in that we are being very careful and very thoughtful in this whole thing of putting this call committee together, because they've got a big task to take care of.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
You bet.
Thank you, Tom. It's really important that we all just keep track of what's happening with this call committee. That's such an important activity, and we want to keep that group in our prayers. But as you see, we also have Pastor Steve here this morning. Thanks for joining us.
I like being here. You always bring out the best in me, Rick.
There you go. That's my job. We want to talk about that campaign.
Right.
And as we all know, there was some brisk activities in February, March, but things have gone quiet for a while. So we want to make sure people understand what's happening even during this kind of down season. And so maybe just remind us, first of all, of the history. What's happened so far?
Well, we knew that as we were moving into a new segment of our ministry, a capital appeal alongside that we needed some consultation from the outside. It's always good to have somebody from the outside looking in to give a good critique. And so it was probably last May in the spring that we contracted with GSB Consulting. And that gave us the gift of Mike Ward and Mitzi Schaefer, and they've been working with us ever since.
Yeah, Mitzi helped us write some of those stories.
That's right.
That was very popular here at Emmanuel. And Mike came in, and how many conversations did he have? It was quite a few right here at Emmanuel.
Well, he's touching on every point of our ministry, and so a lot of us have been on the line with him.
Great. When we did the feasibility study, we lifted up several important projects, things that we were hoping to improve to help in our growth in ministry in the future. Just remind us again, what were some of those very important projects?
I'm thinking of yesterday morning when we were here at the church. On Sunday morning, there was a cloudburst in the courtyard. And Rick and I looked at each other and said, you know, it's not very usable on a rainy day.
No.
So, you know, that's one of those areas, that whole courtyard area, to maybe even get some more architectural drawings on that, but that's a key element. Also, a lot of conversation about the sanctuary still. That's always a topic that everybody's interested in. And alongside that, I would also say that in the Family Life Center, the improvements that have been needed for some time with the Alive service and how we use that in the community are being considered. And I don't want to forget, because Emmanuel communities, ECI and Emmanuel academies, are also in that feasibility time trying to clarify their mission.
You know, we often talk here about one church, multiple communities. Mm-hmm. Well, it's also multiple activities. That's when right. You go through all those lists of things. We're trying to do all that at the same time. And so I know in this quieter phase of the campaign, you've really been interested in developing an organizational structure so that we can get all this stuff accomplished and we can actually execute on our plans. You're laughing.
I'm thinking back, my dad had a hardware store in Iowa. And at the end of the year, he always took an inventory to see what you have and what you need. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We're doing an inventory of our ministries. And the way I look at that in part is the organizational structure, because Mike Ward and Mitzi have been very helpful to go and look at what are things, I'm going to say things like visioning and governance, right. how we are aligned. When I say that we, I'm talking specifically about the church council in concert with Emmanuel communities and Emmanuel academies. We want to make sure the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. We're working well together. And there are some key questions there. Those questions would be, who are we? Why do we exist? Where are we headed? And how are we going to get there? So that also means that we're involved in what has been outlined to me as strategies and tactics.
Ooh. So, we've got this history of the campaign. We've got projects which are becoming refined. I mean, the things that we put out there in February, we learned. We listened to people. We're refining those projects. We're also talking about organizational structure. But now we've entered a quiet phase. Mm-hmm. And what's happening in the quiet phase? Because the quiet phase doesn't mean nothing's happening. It means it's quiet, right? Things are happening behind the curtains, so to speak.
Well, you're right. There's not a lot of resting here, except on the Sabbath. But there is a matter of fact that there are a lot of moving parts, and we're tracking all the mechanisms of our ministry. And so by the time we get, through the summer and have some of this time to accomplish some of that work, we'll move into more of what is a quiet phase, start to visit some of the people that have expressed interest in supporting our ministries. We'll do that sometime in the early fall, and then I would say by next January, we're going to be full throttle moving into the capital campaign.
So people won't hear a lot now, although you should know things are happening behind the scenes in the quiet phase, but boy, you're going to hear a lot later on in the fall, and then, of course, after Christmas.
Yeah, and I think with a forum that's going to be held, when you talk to the people, if they have more questions, we'll continue to talk through the summer about that.
Now, Teresa's also playing a leading role in putting together some of the activities for the campaign, and so we want to hear Teresa now tell us about why she's excited about the campaign. Great. Teresa?
Well, Pastor Rick, I am so excited. We're moving forward. We have lots of things going on. We have large groups working together to give us feedback and guidance. We have small groups assisting us as well. And we are really being spirit-led and getting through this first phase of the silent phase, and we're moving forward to our goal of this new campaign. So, if anybody has any questions, they can call me at this number, and I would be happy to meet with them and answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Teresa. And we do really encourage people to contact Pastor Steve or Teresa for more information. Thank you, Teresa. It's always good to feel your excitement for the work of helping us getting this campaign all teed up. So before we close, again, we want to invite you to the Sunday Forum on July the 24th, when we'll discuss these matters live, and then questions can be fielded, and you can ask more questions or give suggestions about the campaign or the call committee. But any final thoughts that you have on both of those, the call committee and the campaign?
Well, I have a lot of gratitude for this congregation, but I'm also, I have deep gratitude for the process, the very, serious and joyous process of looking forward to leadership for the future. And I just want to thank you too. These forums have been spectacular in terms of keeping our congregation connected, not only with the public forum, but what's happening here at Emmanuel.
And so sometimes we say it goes without saying, but we need to say it. These are big items. A call committee calling a new pastor, new senior pastor, a campaign which could totally transform the ministry of this congregation. And so we really want you to pray for these activities, for those who will be selected on the call committee, for example, for those who will be leading us in the campaign. In the quiet phase, that's not quiet concerning prayer. And so we pray for God's blessing, for God's guidance, that the Holy Spirit would take us in some new and exciting ways. So Pastor Steve, thank you for joining us on the Sunday Forum. I also want to thank Teresa and Tom Jackson for joining us and for leading us on these important paths. Again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being with us, Pastor Steve.
Thank you, Pastor Rick. See you next time.
Bye-bye now.